Today we're diving into one of the most impressive cuts of beef that you can find, and that is the tomahawk steak. Now this isn't just any steak, it's a showstopper. The tomahawk comes from the rib section of the cow, more specifically the ribeye. But what makes it stand out is that long Frenched bone that gives it the iconic tomahawk look. Not only does this bone add a visual appeal, but it also helps retain moisture and flavor, making the steak even more delicious. We're keeping our seasoning very simple but effective. We're first going to add one layer of salt, then we're going to go ahead and add a mixture of salt, pepper, and garlic and sprinkle that on top. The ratio that I have for this seasoning is 1 to 1 to 1, making sure we have a lot of even seasoning going on. When you're working with a steak of this quality, you don't need much to make it shine. Just a few key ingredients to enhance the beefy goodness. Now we're going to let this steak sit and absorb all those flavors while we get started on our classic side dish of creamy mashed potatoes. First, we're going to start by chopping up the potatoes into even-sized chunks. Now this is important because it ensures that all the pieces are cooked at the same rate, making sure that we get a smooth and consistent texture. We'll place these chopped potatoes into a bowl with cold water to prevent them from oxidizing, because nobody wants an ugly brown potato. Then into a pot of boiling water, we'll cook these chunks until they're fork tender, which depending on the size of your chunks can take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Once the potatoes are done, we're going to drain them and place them into our mixing bowl. Now here's where the magic happens. We're going to add a generous amount of cream cheese, and this is my secret weapon for making the creamiest mashed potatoes that you've ever had. Not only does it add a richness, but it also gives the potatoes a silky texture. We'll season this with a bit of salt and freshly ground pepper and just a hint of garlic to tie everything together. And then we'll continue to mash until it's smooth. But we're not done yet, because we have to add our butter, and lots of it. We're going to be adding a whole stick of butter, and here is a pro tip. If your butter is freshly out of the refrigerator, it will be hard and it will be difficult to mash it all together with your mashed potatoes. So what I recommend doing is to put it into your bowl and cover it up with those warm mashed potatoes and let it sit for just a few minutes to let it soften up. After those few minutes have gone by, we're going to go ahead and continue mashing until the butter is fully incorporated and the potatoes are silky smooth. But do not worry if there are chunks left in your potatoes, because I believe that this chunkiness lets you know that it is actually made from potatoes rather than the nasty box spot kind. Trust me, the creaminess of these potatoes is going to blow your mind. We will keep them warm in the oven, but for now let's get back to our steak. We're going to be grilling this beef using a 2-zone cooking method. This means that we'll have one side of the grill with hot coals for searing, and the other side will be cooler for indirect cooking. We're going to go ahead and place our steak on our grill, and we're going to go ahead and let that sit for a few minutes before turning. Now, to make sure that we're getting mainly the heat from the coals and not the metal that we're cooking on, I'm going to go ahead and slide over my other grill grate because it's been cooling down on the other side, and we're going to place our steak on that one, and we're going to keep repeating this process until we get that wonderful golden crust that we're looking for. Once we've gotten the perfect sear on the steak, we're going to move it to the cooler side of the grill to finish cooking. After it reaches 125, we pull it off the grill and look at what we got. While we're resting our steak, we're going to go ahead and move on to our chimichurri. Now chimichurri is a vibrant, tangy sauce that is going to add a fresh kick to our rich steak. And we'll start by roughly chopping a bunch of fresh parsley, a couple of garlic cloves, and a serrano pepper for a bit of heat. The key to a good chimichurri is getting that right balance of herbs, acidity, and spice. Now, we'll add our chopped ingredients into a bowl, seasoned with a bit of salt and pepper, and to bring it all together, we're adding some avocado oil for richness and a splash of vinegar for acidity. Mix it all up until everything is well combined. This sauce is not only delicious with steak, but also great on grilled vegetables or as a marinade. We're going to take our knife and run it down the bone, keeping it real close to not miss any of the meat and get as much of it off as possible. And then once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and start slicing some nice thick pieces. Look at that, perfectly cooked, juicy, and tender. We're going to plate this up with a generous portion of our creamy mashed potatoes, add a few thick slices of steak, and drizzle over some of that fresh chimichurri. And after taking this bite, it was juicy, it was tender, and it was absolutely delicious and flavorful. Let's go ahead and get a bite of the mashed potatoes to see how we did. And it was amazing. There were parts that were chunky from the mashed potatoes that we had and that we didn't get to mash all the way, and then it was also very, very silky smooth from the parts that were mashed very nicely. The creamy from the cream cheese was awesome. You can definitely get that richness from the butter, and it was seasoned perfectly, obviously because I did it. If you enjoyed what you saw here today in this video, please leave a like down below, subscribe, and get that bell notification on right there, so that way you can be notified anytime I drop a new video. I appreciate all of you guys here watching today, and I look forward to producing more content for you so you can enjoy. But until then, I will see you in the next one.